makes contact with a community member that they believe is responsible or is about to commit a crime, has committed a crime, or will commit a crime. We were mandated, if you have a body-worn camera system in your department and you're wearing a camera, the camera has to be turned on. Now that's by the state law when we have to turn the camera on. Now there's areas outside of that we're looking at when we turn the camera on. So in other words, what I'm saying is, is there times when we want to turn the camera on sooner? Rather than just as soon as an officer has probable cause that crime is being committed and that person's dead.
Portland Police has a stop and chat policy where you stop people at random, like minority, etc. But you're not looking to arrest them, you're just checking in with them. Does this rule mean that you don't have to turn the camera on when you're having an interaction with a person in which you do not think there will be an arrest?
Or that you're not allowed
Not necessarily. Actually, if I'm going to stop you, I'm stopping you for a reason, for a violation, traffic citation, suspected of a crime, so the camera would have to be turned on according to this law.
Right, so what I would like to suggest, I understand that there are certain instances, mental health, in a hospital, in a school, where you don't have, according to state law, you don't have a camera on.
And here we go.
However, I would like to make sure that the camera is always on, except in specified instances when a police officer has an interaction.
Well, matter of fact, that's what we're going to jump right into those specified incidents that you're talking about. One more question.
Yeah, my question is, so it says that you talk about public cause that a crime has been committed or violation. So if you're stuck, could this be used, the fact that maybe an officer doesn't turn on their camera when they pulled over someone of color? Is that evidence that racial profiling is happening?
That's a good question. And actually, most agencies that already have body-worn cameras.
Can you repeat
they have
the
that
question?
included. And what they're saying, what the gentleman in the back said, is if the officer stops somebody and doesn't activate the camera, in other words, they have probable cause to believe the crime is committed and that person did it, and the officer doesn't initiate the camera, most policies across the nation, that's a violation of the policy. And that would be a violation of the state law if we didn't turn the camera on.
But you keep going back to probable cause.
My boss is probably I'd get in trouble.
So
Anyway, yes, go ahead.
example that she gave is a great example, and so it's the walk-in talk. You did 4,000 last year. You don't break it down demographically. We can assume who's being stopped and asked questions and ID'd and backpack searched, but because you don't break that data down, the question was, if they're doing a walk-in talk, are they required to have the camera on? Because a walk-in talk isn't about solving
What
crime.
do you think? Should we?
Yes.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
As a matter of fact, I've been thinking about this a lot. If you are going to have body cams, I'm the Department Top Watch, and we take a neutral position because we think there are a lot of problems. But if you are going to go with cop cams, A, the camera should be on at all times when you're interacting with the public. And B, there should be listed and codified penalties for an officer that does not turn it on or turns it off. For example, I just got Sandra, what is the woman Sandra who Sandra Bland?
Yeah, Sandra Bland.
It was not a body cam, it was a car cam. But somewhere in the middle of that interaction, the police officer disappears behind the car and nobody knows what happens. I would like to see that those issues are clearly defined as, I can't remember the word, that disciplinary, failures of discipline, failures to follow police policies, and that there be clear action, that the union cannot come in and say, oh, come on.
Can I ask one follow-up question? So I get the mirror conversation, the walk and talks. What about someone who happens to get in line behind us when we're at a grocery store getting a soda pop or at Starbucks? Should we turn it on immediately when a conversation starts for everybody we talk to?
What are
What's
you,
that?
are you talking about soda pop?
If it's interrogated, you can talk, then yeah, you should have.
So if it's interrogating talk, but if we're just normally interacting with somebody,
Nobody else should be on our hands.
any interaction.
I was interacting together. Yeah, because nobody's gonna trust it. Nobody's gonna trust it.
Okay.
I think
see what you do when you're buying a soda or coffee during your duty shift. And, your ability to edit with the on-off button should be removed. It should be a 12-hour or 8-hour duty shift recording.
So, can I follow up the question to that? So I'm gonna write that down, all contacts. However, what about the privacy of the person who just says hi to the officer who happens to be in the same place? Do we think that we should be reporting that?
They're basically already gonna be blurred anyway.
Listen,
Okay.
as far as the law is concerned, officer, no one has a reasonable expectation of privacy in public. That's why when you go in a convenience store, the convenience store records you. That's why when you get on the max records you. That's why when you go into court, the courtroom records you. That's why there's cameras in taxi cabs. Need I go on? That's kind of ridiculous.
Okay, so I'll put all contacts, all contacts.
So like, let me just kind of rephrase it. So if a person from out of town walks up to me and asks me a question for directions, I should first thing right off the bat turn my camera on. Maybe.
No, I
How do you decide? So that's, basically, you said maybe. How do you decide? I want to hear what you're gonna say.
Based on that officer's background, like, if this officer has been doing all this stuff over and over and over and over, then you wanna be profile, you wanna be following this officer.
Right.
Because it could turn, a person could be turning something in, and,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, they could turn it in, and no, we didn't stole this.
So how do we get past that maybe? Because I hear what you're saying, I hear you totally what you're saying, but, so somebody walks up to me and asks me where the closest Starbucks is. So I get that camera turned on.
I think you're more likely to get struck by lightning.
Well, no, but I mean, rewrite the policy. Is that what you think? You all think we should
You
turn the
guys
camera
have
on?
the concept of mere conversations written into your policy, and you know what mere conversations means to you and every single officer. And so I would
I'm
assume,
trying, I like your clapping, sir, but I can't hear the lady.
and so I would like, as we're talking about who, is it everyone, is it soda pop, whatever you consider mere conversations, the camera needs to be on in the least at that point. Because that's what you guys can consider, whether or not you determine you're going to start, making note of who you talk to or not.
Are you saying that when I walk up to somebody, I should turn my camera on?
Do you consider that a mere conversation?
I don't know. I might walk up to you and ask.
You
I might
guys
walk
have
up-
very distinct specifications as to what mere conversation is.
Okay, so if I walk up to you and ask you, I mean, cops always know where Starbucks are, but if I walk
As a
up to
black
you.
woman in enforcement, yes,
Should I turn my camera
I would like the
on?
camera on, yes.
Okay,
yes.
and
But
that's what
if you
I'm
guys
trying-
are specifying it as mere conversation, which, Daisy Krebs, you know what that means.
Oh, yes.
Your body, your body of officers knows what that means. Mere conversations for me is very, very, I
Okay.
would definitely like to see.
That, I understand what you're saying. In the back.
Person is so
I
proud.
think that you guys are here to protect and serve, so it doesn't matter if you guys are being recorded, no matter what conversation you're having. I think the only time you should be able to turn off your cameras are in the bathroom.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So you're talking about when you contact someone, so usually you have a partner. A lot. So is there any, study or look at, say, you turn your camera on when your partner doesn't, or how that communication happens? So, say for instance, you're having a conversation or you're contacting somebody to stop, and you may think, it's just, you're saying hello to the person, your partner, thinks, well, I'm gonna turn the camera on to record. So are there any, there's been a look at the difference with when people, officers, when they look together, they turn them on, some turn them on, some don't. If there's a conflict where the, video needs to be used for something, one officer had a camera on, the other didn't, was the other officer disciplined? Is that?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I don't really think there's been a specific study about that as far as who turns the camera on and off. But that's actually a very good point, because I can stand here, Captain Shorts is standing there, and we started dialoguing, but he can't hear what we're saying, he may turn on his camera. Where he was down here to start, maybe the policy says I don't have, or I don't need to, and for your benefit, I mean, you probably don't want me to turn the camera on just because I asked you where, you guys know where Starbucks is. But he can't hear that, so that could happen. And that's something, that's kind of an interesting point.
In the Phoenix study. So, to answer your question, in the Phoenix study, Phoenix PD had a policy activate on your own discretion, they didn't give any guidelines. And at the top, the highest amount of reporting was 47% compliance with just reporting. So they didn't have a policy that said you had to turn it on. They just issued cameras as part of the study and let officers have total discretion on turning it on. And at the peak of the year, look, at any one time, the most they had was 47% of activation. That study, which was funded by VGA, was also looking at domestic violence and the outcomes of having video in domestic violence cases. So they didn't look at whether people were partnered together or not, just overall activations in that study over the year period of time.
So, I'm sorry, so an officer could turn the camera on and have it on all day if it wants.
Except for the battery would probably die.
So they could turn the camera on. If I was an officer and I wanted to just be safe, you know, for myself, and I wanted to, every interaction I have, I could turn the camera on and have it on until the battery goes low and then replace it. Does that happen very often?
As long as you announce, I haven't seen a study that addresses that specifically. You have to announce at every encounter.
Right.
There's an announcement rule,
So
it's by state law.
Even if you're in Starbucks, somebody come up to you and say, just so you know you're being recorded.
Yeah. You have to
Pretty much
announce.
have to say what you're talking about.
Right.
So the location of Starbucks is not our main concern.
Sure,
Like,
and I just,
having poverty enforced is why crime happens. Why are we spending money on this system rather than housing people, giving them medical care, and taking care of them?
That's a question, and I don't know if this is the right.
I have an
thing to
answer
ask.
to that. I have an answer to that. As long as you are beating down the middle class, you're gonna have more people on the streets, no housing, and there's not gonna be a relief. If you want something to change that, change who you elect and make sure that there's an improvement of middle class, at least.
I work for the budget department. This is a city budget issue that we're dealing with tonight. Housing, things like that, poverty issues, they're a county budget issue. So a better forum to address that would be at county budget hearings, because that's where the money comes from. The money for the cameras, the money for infrastructure, streets, roads, bridges. All paid for out of the city budget. So this is the wrong forum to discuss that, because you're talking apples and oranges here.
Now, I'm gonna try to keep moving just because of time. I'll stay here as long as I want tonight afterwards to answer more questions, but I'd like to kind of keep on the flow with where we're going. And like I said, afterwards, when we get all done, those of you who want to ask more questions, I'd be glad to answer them. So, the first point we're kind of looking at is a person in mental crisis. And if you have somebody that's in the care of custody of paramedics, firemen, and they're in control, should we have the camera still running?
Should you have the camera quiet? I couldn't hear you.
So if the person in mental crisis, that's the reason why we got to call the police, because I went to the location, and now the person is, you know, in the care of paramedics, firemen, they're on a gurney, you know, they're being cared for. Should the camera still be running?
Yes, just to show that you were there and in control. Turn it off and go.
Okay. Sure.
Well, I could name a couple people. One's James Chassie, which had a mental illness and was beat to death by the Portland police. And they had a black guy out here in off of Sandy that they responded to that had a mental illness, and they shot him in the back with the AR-15 when he was running.
Well, that's not the question. Sorry,
So when you release
I'll let
that-
you say it. But the question is, if the person's already in custody, in other words, the paramedics are dealing with, the police are really done now at this point in time,
Mhm.
transfer to a hospital?
So if you transfer custody of them, then
Yes.
mental health professionals,
Yes.
then you should be done.
So should I turn my camera off, or as long as I'm there, should it
Camera
stay
should be
on?
off, when we have released your responsibility for that person to a mental health professional.
Okay.
Right, you're done, your job's done.
This is Joe first.
What if we do a welfare check on an individual? Do you need to turn on your camera for that?
Good point.
My feeling is that if these are tools for the police to, if this is a tool to punish police for what people think is maybe overtly heavy-handed behavior, think that's a pretty crappy reason to begin. If, in fact, what we're wanting to do is make sure that everybody gets a fair shake, I just think, the police ought to be able to either put them on and leave them on all day if the battery doesn't permit, put them on. You guys are big boys, you can decide, I'm responding to an incident, I'm turning on my camera. The incident is complete, it's all over with the paperwork, I'm turning my camera off.
So basically, once the scene is secure,
Yeah, I mean, every occupation has got people that for one reason or another probably shouldn't be doing that job. And it might be police, it might be a pastor at the church, it might be a bus driver, it might be anybody. And I think we need to just look at that as a one-off and deal with it as it comes up. But man, to go to this kind of expense just to try and get the police under your thumb and make their job a little bit harder. As a taxpayer, I think that's poorly spent money.
okay?
I think that I have to respectfully disagree with this lady here. I think the cameras should stay on after someone's taken into the custody of the VMS or the people, because there's, stillbirth and, the register is on and off, you guys have on camera where you can just turn the camera off. There needs to be a clearly established, chain of evidence of possible injuries.
So what you're saying is, as long as the police officer is on scene to call, the camera should stay on?
It should stay on because, the policeman could, delete footage or not turn their camera on and put some injuries. We need to be documented.
Okay.
For both protection of the cops
Okay.
and the individual, because you don't want someone alleging that you hurt them when you didn't.
Let me ask you about the next one. So now we're inside a medical facility.
Inside the facility,
Inside a medical facility, a doctor's office, hospital.
I think that should be turned off because of HIPAA, yeah.
Okay, so thank you. Anybody else?
I think the cameras should be turned on right before they go to briefing and turned off when they leave.
So 24/7.
24/7.
I'm sorry if this is out of sequence, but would you spell out the acronym CERT, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's Special Emergency Response Team. Everybody knows what SWAT is, right? So Portland just uses the term CERT, Special Emergency Response Team. It's the same thing as SWAT.
So does that include Wackenhut?
I'm sorry, what?
Does that include Wackenhut?
No. SWAT is a special, it's a special response team for like bank robbery, hostage situations, things like that. High emergency, violent situations.
I guess I'm asking if it includes Wackenhut because I want to know, are they covered by any of these, or they don't have to have cameras?
No, they're a private entity, they have nothing to do with Portland Police. So I don't know anything about their policies, I have no idea what they do. Oh, well, they work for Trinet. Oh, okay, that's what we're getting at, yeah. I don't have anything to do with those guys. They don't have any kind of answering to us at all. We don't employ them or anything. Yes?
What about a protest situation? Would all the police?
Well, that's a good question. What do we do at protests? Because all our officers are gonna have cameras on. Should they be on or off? What? On? Everybody should have the camera on? Okay.
And Seattle's policy, I don't know if you all know what Seattle's policy is, but all video automatically goes to a YouTube channel. They don't still, everything goes to a YouTube channel. Anyone can do it at any time. Faces are automatically blurred out. If there is reason to, if you have a question about some video, you can ask for a redacted video, 20-minute chunks with faces unblurred. And so in the most recent Seattle protest, a young man had bumped into a police officer on a bike. He was arrested and processed. They went back over the video, noticed that he was pushed into an officer and was released. And that was due to normal people having access 24/7 to all video footage.
Okay, so you're saying, just to recap, everybody should have, at a protest, all the cameras should be on at a protest. Is that what everybody's thinking?
Yeah.
Okay. You say no? I'm
I'm
protesting.
saying, I don't even really think it's gonna be necessary at that point.
Okay.
I mean, you should.
Are body cams evidentiary and nice and voluntary?
That's something we're gonna get into in a few slides, they are evidence.
Here's over to Ken in green shirt.
I'm sorry.
Twice now.
No, there's kind of two pieces that I hear floating back and forth in the room right now, which is partially determined by camera battery life, as I understand it, and partially determined by how you gentlemen are trying to understand the public's desire for the range of filming. If it's simply a battery issue, would something in the nature of a charge port like you have for your walkie-talkies that's just in the car, where you get out of the car, you're going on a call, you pick up the camera like you pick up the walkie-talkie, put it on your person, and in that moment it's doing its thing. You get back to the car, you plug it in, and it just keeps doing its thing. The second piece of that is when you get back to that data point, that hotspot or whatever downloads the image, who views it?
We're gonna talk about who's
Okay.
coming up. As far as the batteries, it is, a lot of this is driven by technology, because right now, there really isn't a camera that's gonna record more than 4, maybe 6 hours, and even then, that the quality of video is probably pretty low, because they have to shrink it way down to like, 320p to get the video to play that long. So that's a big part of it. But then again, this is not the first community meeting we've talked to, and we've talked to a lot of other people, and they say that there's times that they would rather not be filmed, and we're gonna talk about a few more of these. Like, let's get right into the next one. So we'll go past the facilities, and then we'll go into reluctant witnesses. So if we're interviewing a witness, and they say, I don't wanna talk to you unless you turn that camera off, what should we do? We've got one here that says turn it off. What else?
Ask the question again?
So, I'm interviewing a witness to a crime, and I'm asking that person, hey, what happened here? And the first thing they do is they see this, and they go, well, I'll be glad to talk to you as soon as you shut that off. So should
want to be identified because people will retaliate on me,
Yeah,
and that's why I'm wrong.
so, yeah, shut off.
Could you just get audio at that point?
That could possibly be, the cameras have that ability where you can just play audio or just record audio.
Do you guys have a best practices study?
Well, we've done all sorts of studies, but we're asking
Okay,
you.
no, but, so I would love to see the information. I would like to see the 7 other police departments that you've interviewed and how they are handling it, if you've done a best.
Well, we've looked at
practices
the
study.
studies that Captain Scruggs put on there, we've looked at those studies.
Okay, that's not what I'm asking is, have you guys done a best practices? Which means, have you called the Seattle Police Department?
we have.
And do
We've
you
spoken
have a
with their
list
agencies.
of how other departments are handling these issues?
Yes, we have.
Wow, well, that would have been really useful to bring to this meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, we have, we've talked to a lot of
Okay,
agencies.
so where can we find that?
You can find all the information, we'll have it on our website, that I'll put at the end.
Okay, is it on there now?
It's on the website, yeah, so not all of it, but like all the questions and things
The
like
best
that.
studies.
And also, we'll have some of the studies, like for instance, with Captain Scruggs.
I'm not asking about those studies, I'm asking about best practice.
Okay, well, we haven't done something, quote, that we wrote on a chalkboard that said West Studies, but we have asked a lot of different agencies what
How
they're
they're
doing.
handling
Yes,
that.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I'd love to see
the
that.
two large bodies in the United States that do studies like that is the Police Executive Research Forum, and they've published something in joint with the United States Department of Justice. We also have the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and they also came out with a body-worn camera best practices. One of the things you'll find in there is they're kind of all over the board a little bit, and they recommend, one of the things they recommend is meeting with your community.
Right. and-
Which is what we're doing right along with them. So
And
we've
we're
looked at all those, we've also looked at about 40 plus policies from across the country. We looked at LA's, we looked at San Diego's, we looked at little small towns you've never heard of. Black Butte has a body-worn camera policy. So we've kind of gone through all those, and that's how we came up with these discussion points for tonight.
My point being that the man in the back talked about something the Seattle Police Department was doing. And I, even though I'm a member of Copper Watch and I researched this, was not aware of that. And had I known about that practice, that might have been what I recommended here, but since I didn't know about it, I couldn't suggest it. So when you ask me, inside medical facilities, should the camera be on and off? Well, I don't really know at this point until I have some more information. And that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You mentioned in a hospital, that would violate the different law.
I think we'd have a problem with that, right? Depending on what's being filmed.
But also, if I'm in the hospital because I'm reporting my pregnancy and
Okay.
being right in there, then yes, that should be on. If I'm a patient who happens to be in the hallway, we will very turn it on.
So like if we're not called to a crime at the hospital, maybe we're going to talk to a witness or something like that. Yeah.
But if you're responding to a crime, your body's on the floor and your heart is moving, then yes, there's something to be on. And if I'm in the picture, too bad.
Okay, couple things I wanted to bring up. One was a protest thing. Okay, I'm alternative media. Okay, alternative media is oftentimes targeted by police. I've been arrested 3 months after a protest for interfering with vehicular traffic where no one else has been arrested when you had 30 protesters in the street. But due to I'm alternative media, they tend to arrest me as fast as they can. The other issue that I have with reluctant witnesses is that police have a tendency of doctoring reports, and I've got documentation of that.
So you're saying that if they're reluctant or not, we should leave the camera on and just tell them too bad? So, I mean,
Exactly.
Okay.
It seems to me that the cameras, the idea of the camera is an objective third eye to be a witness to an interaction. Regardless of where your bias is, whether it's pro or con with the police, basically the camera should be objective. Therefore, it would seem to me that it should be on when you're dealing with a police issue, and it should be off when you're dealing with a non-police issue.
Okay.
Yeah, but how are we to trust the cops to turn the camera on and off again?
So-
It's not objective because they have control of when the camera starts and when it stops.
Like I said, this is not an all-inclusive list. What I'm trying to do is just throw some ideas. These are some of the things that we've thought about. And educate people who brought this up to me, or up to us about these different ideas. And another one is like, if we're inside a private residence, it's a cold call to burglary or something like that, and the officer's coming in and take a report. There's no suspect in the room, just the victim. Should the camera be on when we walk into that house at private residence? You got a nod yes here?
In Seattle's policy is you have to inform someone.
Well, yeah, we definitely
in
inform
our
them.
residence that you're going to turn your camera on. So that seems to be, that should be a policy.
So we should probably have the camera on when we go into the private residence.
Inform someone that you're going to, and that homeowner should have the right to say yes or no. You will turn it on.
That makes sense?
As it relates to reluctant witness, I think you need to get on camera, them specifically saying they do not want to be on camera for.
So we need to make some kind of, make a recording on the camera saying, hey, I'm turning them off because this person doesn't want to talk.
I want to hear them say, I don't want to.
Or have them say it?
And that be a reason for you to then shut it off. As it relates to inside a private residence, when the suspect is no longer present, I agree with what he said. When you have a resident telling you to go ahead and turn it off.
And the reason why that came up, somebody said to us, well, wait a minute. Do I want all my private possessions and everything that's on the inside of my house, recorded, that could eventually go public? And that's why that question right there got brought up. And that's why or inventory, yeah. Sure.
Another reason why that might be a problem for a private resident is that they might have, say, an illegal immigrant, an undocumented person.